Hello, boys. It's your lad Doge Charger here, and you know what we're here for. We're here for that special 10K celebration. And not gonna lie, every single YouTuber does say this, but I never really thought I would actually be able to get to 10,000 subscribers. So thank you to everyone who has been with me from the very start and the very beginning. And without further ado, let's get into what we're actually here for, and that is this Q&A submission here, which I set up. You were supposed to drop a question into the comment section of my most recent video, and if I thought it was a good question, I'd actually answer it. So, our first question is from Sachit Dasanayaki. Don't know if that's pronounced correctly or not. So he has a few questions for us. What do you think of the new Need for Speed? If I recall correctly, it's the Need for Speed Payback. I'm not gonna lie with you guys, I'm not particularly a fan of the new Need for Speed series, and one thing which I especially do not like is the new thing where it's essentially EA loot box simulator now, where you actually have it's gambling for car parts, and I really don't like that concept because it's very pay to win like, and I just generally don't think it adds a lot of fun to the game. Maybe if they removed that and the driving physics themselves were a bit better, I would consider playing that game, but in its current state, I don't particularly like it. Okay. Second question is, what is your favorite car from Initial D / ever? So I'll answer the first part of the question. So my favorite car from Initial D is actually the Suzuki Cappuccino. I think it's, while it's not particularly powerful, it only makes something like 130 or so horsepower, maybe even less. It is a very interesting car, I think. I mean, it's extremely tiny, it has a short wheelbase, but it's extremely nimble, and I think it's one of the most underrated cars in Initial D. But that battle, I think, is one of my favorites. And what is your favorite Eurobeat song? Now, the thing with Eurobeat is that it's very linear in how the song's style is. It's all very similar. Generally speaking, it has a similar bass, beat, and everything. Well, maybe not bass, but you get the entire idea. Now, I think my favorite Eurobeat song would have to be Far From Delight. I think that, at least in recent memory, it's not particularly very well known, and it's also got very good vocals and slightly different actual musical notes than all other Eurobeat songs I've heard. Okay, our next questionnaire is Stig1738. Why does the human index finger fit perfectly into the human nostril? Top 10 questions that scientists still can't answer till this day. And then the second question is, how many holes does a straw have? And the answer is only one, of course. Now the third question is favorite race in Initial D. So like I said earlier, that would probably be the Cappuccino race. Second favorite race, I think, is the one where it's him versus the RX-7 Ryosuke. I think that's one of the most interesting races. And it's just absolute bullshit, which everyone always loves. It's just great. Next question is from, I think those are Chinese characters, and Meltdown. So the first question is, what am I thinking about the new Supra? Now, I personally haven't heard very much about the new Supra. I've only seen some spy shots of it, but it seems like a genuinely interesting car, as long as Toyota doesn't manage to mess it up in some way. Unfortunately, it's an automatic only, and that just makes things so much less fun. If I am going to get a car, I think it would probably have to be a manual, personally speaking. Second question, what do I use to play racing games? I used to actually use my Xbox 360 controller, I just normally use my Xbox 360 controller, but I am planning on buying, excuse me, Thrustmaster Ferrari 458 racing wheel, because that's fairly cheap and I've heard very good things about it. You know, if you have some personal experience with it, drop it in this comment section below. Third question, what is my favorite car? That is a very tough question, I'm not gonna lie. One of my all-time favorite cars would have to be the Datsun 240Z, because I think that the car just looks very flowing and gorgeous. Like, those body lines are just beautiful for a car from that generation. And of course, it was also cheap for the time. Number 4, who is my waifu? I don't have a waifu, guys. Come on, man. I'm not a weeaboo. Yeehaw. Next question is from Mako Sato, and her question is, do you play Need for Speed 2015, and would you like to do a Doge battle with my Sil 80? Unfortunately, no, I do not play Need for Speed 2015. Just personally, like I said, I don't really like the new Need for Speed games all that much. Next question is from Rampage Gamer. How did you get your YouTube name? Doge Charger. Yeah, it's an interesting YouTube name, isn't it? Well, when I was just a wee little bab, you know, like about 9 years old is actually when I started my YouTube channel, somewhere around that age. And you know, I just you know, at the time I really did like Doge Chargers, and the Doge Meme was still relevant at that time. So, you know, I figured, oh hey, that's relevant, let's do that. Combine two of my favorite things. Obviously, you know, it would probably make more sense to change it, but I think I'll just keep it as it is, you know, just a little bit of a reminder to my retardedness when I was younger. What is my favorite car? Like I said, Datsun 240Z is probably one of my all-time favorites. Second favorite, probably the Acura NSX. I also like the styling of that car, and it just seems very, well, yeah, I just like the way the car looks, you know what I mean? Interior quality is also great on that car. Third question, do you like pop-up headlights? Yeah, I absolutely love pop-up headlights. It might not be aerodynamics, but pop-up headlights just, I think, add a certain sort of charisma to cars, which you don't get in modern cars today.
Ooh, headlights go up, headlights go down. Headlights go up, headlights go down. Headlights go up, headlights go down. Again. Headlights go up, down, 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 up, down.
Next question is from LittleSputnik, and oh, that's a very nice profile picture right there. And he asks, how do you know which cars can be drift with and which not? Generally speaking, you can technically drift every single car. Technically. Even front-wheel drive cars are driftable, because you can, well, it's not really a true drift, but it is still a form of drift, because you can just pull up that rear handbrake and just slide like that and initiate a drift. But generally, drifting does get easier when you have a bit more power to work with. Somewhere in the 200 to 300 horsepower range is, you know, actually when somewhere around the range which I'd consider a budget drift car to have. So yeah. What is next question? From Rafflemeister _ is, where is the Need for Speed Carbon Mims? We've been waiting for them so long. Parentheses T, nose T, parentheses. Well, it's gonna be coming along in a while, I think. The thing is, I did kind of, I feel, make a lot of Need for Speed Carbon videos a while back, and I don't want my channel to be purely dedicated to Need for Speed Carbon, because I think that after a while that just gets stale and boring. But don't worry, they'll be coming. I think I might make one in the next week or so, hopefully. I mean, you guys know my upload schedule, right? Neon Dragger says, question, how many tires do you think you have blown up drifting? In video games, too many to count. In real life, I think I've only ever blown out one tire, and that was because that one tire was slightly more bald than the other. Yeah, I don't normally do drifting very often. I just consider myself to be very noob to it in real life. Shocking, I know. But here in America, there aren't particularly very many secluded places you can go to drift that are also fun at the same time. Alright, next question is from Maxime Vincent. Ooh, this is a good question. What are your thoughts on electric cars? Well, generally, I think that electric cars, they're kind of soulless, in my opinion. They are very fast and very cool. They have instant torque and very good acceleration figures. I mean, Elon Musk recently released an announcement for the second generation of the Tesla Roadster with a 0 to 60 of 1.9 seconds. That's absolutely insane. But I just think it's very soulless. There's nothing really to do. There's not even engine noise, you know? I just think it's very kind of boring. But there's also the problem of how electric cars aren't fully matured yet. In America, there are tons of supercharger stations, but in Europe and other places, there definitely aren't as many. I know in Poland, there's not even a lot of charger stations near my hometown of Olsztyn. There's just one a little bit farther out towards one of the smaller towns. But I think that electric cars are a very interesting recent innovation, which could be interesting in the future. If there was a model of electric car that could send more or all power to the rear wheels so you can drift, would you want to try? The answer to that is hell yeah. That is actually a very good concept for a drift car, because you have instant torque, so you can very well modulate how much power goes to the rear wheels. So I think it's a very good concept. Okay. Levski LSK says, what is your favorite car you want to drive in the future? Very creative question here, I know. Indeed it is. Oh, excuse me. Oh my god, what the hell did I eat? So, I already talked about my favorite cars twice. Let's talk about realistic cars, which I could own. So that's about 10,000 or lower price range. I wouldn't mind owning a Toyota Chaser or a Toyota Soarer, to be honest, because those are very nice Japanese cars. I'm certain a Golf or maybe even a Crossfire SRT6 might be within that range. So that's just some few cars which I definitely wouldn't mind driving in the future. Okay. Sabinic 3001 says, what got you into watching Initial D, and what did you think after watching the first episode? Well, there were a lot of things which actually got me into Initial D. Because, to be honest, I really wasn't that big of a car guy until a few years ago. And one of the first things was when I actually stole my Initial D discs from my brother, because fuck him, you know what I mean? Yeah. And ever since I started watching Initial D, that's the thing about Initial D, it gets so many people into car culture, and I think that's a great thing. What did I think about watching the first episode? Well, I thought that some parts of it were indeed boring, but there was enough fast-paced action to actually balance it out evenly. So I think it was overall very, very solid for a long-running anime series. Okay, Flame says, are you going to be doing Assetto Corsa videos with a wheel soon? That is a very good, realistic possibility. You know, if I decide on what wheel to buy, and right now it looks like I'm probably going to buy the Thrustmaster Ferrari 458 racing wheel. So, yeah, look forward to that, because Assetto Corsa is not playable at all with a controller. I've tried. It's not very playable. Okay. Next question is from Laments. Why you make a Q&A session?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into. Well,
I made a Q&A session, or at least I'm making one right now, you know, because this is real time. Fuck that pre-recorded shit, you know what I mean? I'm making a Q&A session to celebrate, you know, the fact that I got 10,000 subscribers. I mean, it's not every day someone gets 10,000 subscribers, right? I think it's a great thing. Okay, next question is from Rafael Dutra. What anime you knew first, X-Driver or Initial D? I actually knew Initial D first. He's referring to the livery I had on my Lancia Stratus in the video I made previously. Initial G was the first video that I actually fucking not the video, but first anime series which I actually watched. X Driver, I watched that much later after I started looking around if there was anything else interesting that was automotive related. So yeah. Okay. Next question is from Francis765. And he has a question about whether or not the misfiring system is good. Yes, misfiring system is good. Brap sutututu.
Misfiring System.
Next question is from Rat, where he says, what do you use to edit your videos? Normally I use Sony Vegas Pro 14, and I make my thumbnails sometimes in Photoshop with Adobe, not Adobe Designer, Affinity Designer to sort of help me make the thumbnails more. But generally most of my editing is done in Sony Vegas Pro 14. I should probably switch to Adobe Premiere because that is much more flexible, but it has a much steeper learning curve, I think. Next question is from Kuba Fryer. I'm not certain that's pronounced correctly or not. No, don't kill me. Says, where am I from? I am actually from Poland. Olsztyn, Poland to be specific. But I only lived there for a very short period of time as a young little bab before my family moved to America. And that's where I am right now. Okay, next question again from LittleSputnik. S2000 or Roadster S? Roadster S. What is that? I'm sorry, I've actually never heard of a Roadster S. What is that? Oh, Lamborghini Aventador Roadster. Is that what? I don't know if that's what you mean, but I think the S2000 is a very respectable car, despite its relatively low power output for Americans. Hubao22 says, would you do a video with Need for Speed Underground 2? I don't particularly know. I might do that kind of video in the future, but I don't really know, because I normally just make videos about games which I'm recently playing and I very much like. So my most recent video, Forza Motorsport 7, I really do like that game despite the shitty AI sometimes. Next question is from Riceball, and he asks, what got you into making YouTube videos? I really don't know it was a very long time ago. I made my first YouTube channel, you know, not 9 years ago, but when I was 9 years old, so it was a very long time ago, but I think I just really wanted and liked the concept of being able to have an audience to interact with, and it wasn't just you yourself playing computer games, and I really liked that idea. And I also really loved the idea. Excuse me, what the fuck? Holy fucking shit, this is a bad Q&A session, man. But generally, I just really like the concept of having videos which would make someone's life a bit better. Dexter the Mapper asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how normie are you? I would say 1.8 out of 10. Because while I'm not fully, you know, very, god fucking damn it, skipping this question, you know my answer. Okay. Okay, next question. Sonic Master Fan says, why do you love the Stratus? Well, I think it's, again, another really great car from the 80s era of rallying, and it's just such an interesting car, you know. It's very light, has a mid-engine layout, and it has a really short wheelbase, so it's actually was one of the better cars for you know, just flying through hairpins at the time. And I just really like the general design and distinctive look it has in the front and back. Also, that exhaust tone is beautiful. It has. Okay, Captain Dodo asks, hello Doge, how are you, man? I'm doing just fine, bro. Thanks for asking. Next question is from solelytour, and he asks, how much time did you spend editing this video? Or all your videos in general? Okay, I'm going to start with about a year ago. About a year ago, I didn't spend very much time on editing videos. I just added in little cute quips at the bottom to make sure it wasn't just purely gameplay. But that didn't take very long at all. It was like a 5 or 8 minute editing job. Now I take half an hour to an hour easily editing videos, because I actually try and put some effort into it and try to make it a very distinctive style. So, you know, there are a lot of underground YouTubers like Dioxide, Purple Guy, a bunch of others, and you know, it's important to be distinctive when you have such a very closely related underground community of YouTubers, you know? I also love both of you guys. I watch your videos very often. Thanks, guys. Next question is from the gamingsanic, and he asks, what are my PC specs? I have an i5 4570 at 3.2 gigahertz, 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM, and a GTX 1070. And it generally hasn't let me down very often. It's a very good build. Quad cores are still fairly usable in 2017, although I am thinking of updating to Ryzen 5 with the 1600 6-core 12-thread processor. Real talk, because it's much faster. For example, the Lancia video was just 5 minutes, but it took me over 20 minutes to render it on my computer. Elias Barikas asks, are traps gay? Well,